Today's episode, we got a set of 5.7 Hemi heads out of a truck, I believe. Maybe not, but I think it's a truck. We're gonna touch up the valve job. We're gonna surface them, and there's several exhaust bolts broke off. We're gonna get all those out. So stay tuned. All right, so I've already got the heads apart. I should have filmed that, but I didn't. So we tore them down, inspected them, checked some stuff. Everything looked pretty good, but some of the exhaust valve faces was a little rough, and the decks are a little rough, and we got to get the broken bolts out anyway. So I have got one out of the spray washer, and I went ahead and dikemed up all the seats, and I've got all my tooling out, and I'm going to grind the valve seats, and I'm going to let you see how all that happens. And then once we get all the seats ground, we'll go get the broken bolts out and all of that jazz. So let's get started. So we got, I'm sure you've seen, everybody and their mama seen the other valve job video. So we got our tapered pilot, fresh dress stone, the right size. And I'm sure it's not going to take much because it never does. Yep, so we can see over here we got a little bit of deviation, but this side over here looks pretty good. So the seats a little, just, thermal cycling will get them a little out of round. So, yep. So you can see that's nice. And the pilot fits well. Yep, beautiful. Regardless of what a lot of people think, the grinding stones do an absolutely terrific job, especially, again, you can see, we've still come down here on the seat. You can still see we've got the upper angle and we've got a throat angle. So, all we're doing is correcting the 45. So it's already a multi-angle valve job. We're just correcting this 45. Now, if it was tore all to pieces and eroded or sunk, that's a different conversation. But when they're generally in good shape, to me, other people might argue, but to me, this is the fastest and most accurate way to correct the sealing surface. And it just works. It works great. All right, so that takes care of the exhaust side on this head. So we will flip it over and we'll touch up the intakes. Same deal, we got us a freshly ground stone. Yeah, it's kind of the same way. You can see over here on the side, it's pretty thin. So we're a little thicker over here than we are over here. So again, these aluminum heads do, yeah, and look over here. So it's not, it didn't touch it all over here yet. So, you know, it's definitely not perfect. Yep, there we go. So, yeah, we might, and keep in mind, you know, it's a super fine stone. So everything I've done right there probably ain't changed the seat depth, you know, 4 or 5 thousandths, if that much. Yep, there we go. They make some really coarse stones, but I don't use them because all we ever doing with stones is just finishing. We're not trying to do no metal removal. Yeah, and it's the same way over here. You know, it's a little thin, but it's coming right on in. Yep. You see it a lot, like on a lot of like old Chevrolet V6 heads, the aluminum ones. You'll see where the exhaust seat will be like that, but it'll be like 10 times worse. And a lot of times they almost so bad we have to put seats in them. Yeah, that wasn't too bad. All right, so, yep, that's all the seats. So, and again, that's just a basic standard valve job. And if they were really bad, you know, because of the seat depth, like if the seats are really tore up, even into 30 with carbide, I mean, you just can't go but so deep. And now the tip height is way too high. So then you're at a place where, you know, we just have to pull the seats out, put new seats in, and then we'll cut them with carbide and bring them to the depth and diameters that they need to be. So let's go down to the welding shop and get set up. And I'm going to get, let's see, this one. Yeah, this one's got 2 broke off, and I think the other head also has 2 broke off. So we'll go down to the welding shop and we'll get this set up, and I'll show you how I get these out. All right, so generally what I do, I use a TIG instead of a MIG. I don't know that one's way better than the other, but I think with the TIG, I can sort of concentrate the weld more, you know, focus it on the point. And like, come over here. And you can see like this one is pretty much like almost flush, but this one's down. And so I can actually take the TIG and I can just weld the top up till I get it high enough that I can drop a nut on and then TIG all that together. But I believe this one, I'll just be able to TIG it straight away and it'll come out. But we'll give it a go and see what happens. And I hate these. I've been trying to buy, I always use 3/8 nuts most of the time for all these metric type heads. And for some reason, I cannot get nuts uncoated. I've been trying to get them, and that zinc is just a nightmare. But the bolt man is supposed to be hunting me some that's not coated. But that's the only drawback is the zinc. And I think you can put them in vinegar and it'll get the zinc off. You have to soak them, but I don't never think far enough ahead to do that. So here we go. It don't like that at all. Yeah. I'm really surprised because it did not like that zinc. It was farting and puking. Ta-da. So I'm gonna put some weld on this one and I'm gonna build it up and then we'll put a nut on it. You might want to come over here maybe. All right, we gotta grab the other head and then we'll do the same thing on the other head. So essentially this one is the exact same way. The top bolt is almost flush and the bottom bolt is sunk a little bit. So we'll just try the exact same scenario we did the first time and we'll hope that works out. Cut that out. I mean, these are really easy coming out. A lot of times, especially on the LS's, they are not that easy. I mean, sometimes they are, but most of the time they're not that easy. gotta put my glasses on. I can't see nothing. All right, so we'll take all of this back up to the front shop, and then we'll get this one valve jobbed, and then we'll set them up in the surfacer and get them surfaced. Luckily on this one, it's the last head we surfaced was a late Hemi, so the machine's already pretty much set up for it, so we ain't got to do a lot of changing around. Yeah, so it's actually pretty good. So it was within a thousandths here to here, and it's well within a thousandths on end to end. But I seen it had a little belly in it, but so that's good. So we're gonna call that home, and then we'll cut it from here. Sometimes, for whatever reason, they're not parallel from the valve cover rail to the, and we'll just, wherever it's out, we'll just shim the corners to get it, relatively close. I mean, we're not looking far perfection, but we want it to be, we want it to be real close. So this should just be a zero pass just to see where it's at, and then we'll make a real cut from there. All right, so while that's running, we'll come over and touch up this valve job. Yeah, you can see it's barely touched right there. So we'll call, I guess we're gonna call that 0. All right, let's grind some valves. So this is already set on the right angle, and because LS's and Hemis are the same stem size, all that's already set too. So we just true up to 45, and we'll do that on all of them. I can see better back here. I bought this grinder brand new. Well, I didn't buy it from Sue brand new, but a guy down the road had bought it brand new and all the seat cutting equipment. And I guess he thought he was going to start doing valve jobs, and then I guess he realized you had to have all the other equipment too to make it worth doing. So he done about ground a handful of valves and a handful of seats. And I bought all this stuff, and I mean, it looked just like it come out of the box. And so basically, I've had this since I was about, I don't know, 24 or 25, I guess. And it ain't never let me down. It does a great job. I blued one up just for a visual so you could maybe see it better. get on the exhaust. And it's only taking just a few thousandths to clean the faces up. So they actually in pretty fair shape compared to a lot. We see a lot of LS exhaust valves that, I mean, pretty much you just have to throw them away. They so pitted. All right, so that's the rough cut. That's like 2 thousandths. So it looks pretty good. So we'll take another couple of thousandths for a finish pass, and then that'll be the end of that head. And we record what we're doing so we can do the same thing to the second head. All right, so we got the head shaved. We took a total of 6.5 thousandths off of it, and everything cleaned up except you can just, and it doesn't matter, but you can see a little shadow over here where this was outside of the gasket. That's just some, you know, from the elements. But other than that, it's good. So we're gonna get this head out, get it washed, and then we'll get the other head in, set it up, and do the same process again. So another deal is tip height, and if you've seen in the other, if you've seen the comment section in the other video about the problematic valve job, 500 people asked the question, well, was the valve too tall? And we know the answer is no, because we actually have a gauge and we actually check that stuff. So here's the Hemi head that we just did the valve job on. And I'm gonna show you the tip height variance on all 4 intakes. So that's 61. That's 59. Get on there. That's 57. And that's 55. So the whole head, there's only 5 thousandths, 6 thousandths variance in the tip height. So, you know, probably the factory tolerance is probably 10 thousandths, but we shoot for, on most stuff, you know, about 5 thousandths is definitely well within the window. And if it was 15 thousandths or 20 thousandths, it wouldn't make any difference, because that's just how a hydraulic lifter works. But pretty much anytime that we do a valve job, we're gonna check the stem heights. We're gonna check the guides, we're gonna check the stems, and we're gonna know that these things are in tolerance, because, you know, what's the point of doing the job if you're not gonna check all the boxes? You know, there's tolerances on this stuff, and as long as things are in the allowable tolerance, it's a fine part, especially for, you know, just normal stuff. I mean, you know, this ain't top fuel dragsters, and actually top fuel dragster tolerances are bigger than this. So, you know, I just wanted to show that so, you know, you understand how it's measured and how we know. And the other thing is, if the tip height is correct, if all the tip heights are correct, then unless you got some really goofy valve problems where the lock groove is in the wrong place, all your installed heights for the valve springs should be within that same tolerance. So if, and again, this is a stock deal, so it doesn't really apply here, but in a performance application where we're doing, you know, high performance valve springs, and we might be trying to get a specific pressure for an application, if all the stem heights are the same and all the installed heights are the same, then you don't have to do all kind of crazy shimming. I mean, I see heads come in here, I mean, they got just the insane amount of shims, and this one's got a 30, and this one's got a 30 and a 15, and the next one's got a 60. I mean, they just all over the place. And if your spring pressure is varying that much, you need to throw them in the dumpster and buy a new set of springs. Or if your installed height varies that much and you got to do all this crazy shimming, you know, you need to fix the seat depth, or get better valves or something to correct all of that. Because if your seat depths vary all over the place, then your piston to valve clearance is going to vary all over the place also, because all of that is dependent on the depth of the valve in the cylinder head. So, you know, keep all that in mind when you're doing this kind of stuff. So let's look at this, see where we at. Yep, so that was like a 3/1000 cut, and pretty much it cleaned it up. Yeah, and it's like the other one, it's got just a little bit of staining outside the gasket. I see a little place right there on the bolt hole. But other than that, it looks good. So we'll take our finish cut to depth. I can almost see the fire ring, where the fire ring was anyway. So we'll take that finish cut, and then this will be done, and then we're gonna get these things assembled. Come over here. So we'll check the spring pressures and make sure that the springs are all consistent. All right, so that's 200. So we just kind of pull them down in the middle, and then we'll check all of them at that mid pressure and make sure we don't have any real variance where we can assume a spring is tired. Yep, so all those is really good. I mean, they were all within just a few pounds of one another, and I mean, most of them were just dead nuts, and I seen one or two that might have been a couple of pounds down, but it wasn't much at all. So we're gonna get ready to start loading these heads up. That's what we use on the stems. I mean, everybody does something different, I guess, but that's what I've been using for a long time, and I've had good success with it. Especially like, you know, just oil or something, it'll run out. Especially you see heads set around a lot before they get installed for whatever reason. And so that's why I always use something a little thicker, just so we got some lubrication on startup. this old guy way back in the day when I was just a teenager that I had to do some machine work for us. He had an old oil can, I mean a real can, and it had burnt motor oil in it, and he had a 55-gallon drum he assembled heads on, and the bucket was over here on his bench, and he'd just take the valves and he'd dip them in the bucket and stick them in the head. That's what he always used. I guess it worked for him, but he'd been doing it that way for I don't know how many years. But I just try to think ahead of all the things that could happen, and if it sits there a long time and it all runs out, and you know, you just don't want to start a guide dry. Probably wouldn't hurt a thing in the world, but we always worry about stuff. All right, so we got the cleanup pass on that one. It's finished, so we'll get it blowed off. So we'll start assembling this head. So I'll tell you what, let me drag this over here where everybody can see what's happening. Yeah. All right, so we'll drop a seal over. Throw it down. Let me grab a little hammer. So this is my seal installer that I made, I don't know, 10 years ago or so. We got these on the website, and they work on a lot of stuff. This one part number works on LS's, it works on LT's, it works on Hemis, works on 22R Toyotas. It works on several things, but it's guide piloted, I mean valve piloted, so it keeps it in line, and then it puts them on without tearing anything up, and it fits nice. And you don't have to worry about murdering seals. All right, so these use a hardened washer because they don't have a hat seal, so it uses a hardened washer for the spring to set on. The early ones, the early Hemis used a hat seal like a LS that had the spring seat built in. And I think this one's getting this for a local shop here in town, BP Express. This one's getting the displacement on demand. What is it? Hemi calls it, Chrysler calls it the MDS, I think. It's getting the MDS delete, and so they freshening the top end, and we're gonna get them a cam. I mean a stock cam, but a non-MDS cam, and gasket set and all of that jazz. So that's why we freshening the heads while it's off. And then obviously you've seen all the exhaust bolts broke. That stuff's almost an absolute nightmare in the car. They don't always go in there perfectly. There we go. Alright, so that's one head finished. And then we'll get the other head out of the surfacer, get it blowed off, and get it on the bench, and then we'll assemble it too. stay down. We got a seal that ain't no good. It will not stay on the guide. And I don't see no problem with it, but it just must be made wrong. Let me see if I can find another seal. So I got another seal and got that corrected. So we'll finish putting this one together. So that is a completed job. So we're gonna get up the rest of the parts, all the cam and lifters and gaskets, and we'll bag the heads, and they'll be ready to get out of here. I hope that was helpful. But that's a standard process to go through to redo a set of cylinder heads. Next, I've got some of our CNC ported heads, and we cut the seats, we profiled the seats, so we cut them into 30. So at some point, we got so much other stuff going on, but at some point here in the next week or month, I'll try to do a video on our CNC heads, how we did about, I think we do have a video of cutting the seats in one of our CNC heads, but we'll do a full video like we did on these, and we'll go through the whole process on our CNC heads, doing surfacing, valve job, assembly, checking spring heights, pressures, all of that jazz. So be on the lookout for that one. All right, thank you again for watching, and like, share, subscribe. Check out the website. If you need one of these jewels, I'll put a link in the description, the valve seal installer. They really work good. Makes quick work out of it, and they're relatively inexpensive. I'll put a link in the description. All right, thank you so much again. See you on the next one.